The second thing talks about, the second digit talks about water. Protected against powerful jets of water is what you have seen just now. That was the IP66 enclosure being tested on outside things. Do we ever face a situation like this? Yes. If you see your car, the car has a engine management unit. So, that engine management unit needs all this testing, and two things are happening there. It is not just about water during cleaning. Accidentally things get splashed. Remember, it has rotating machinery inside. You have belts and you have an electrical fan, and imagine there is a leakage from the either the coolant leakage from the so called radiator, which incidentally does not radiate, it is just a heat exchanger, neither is it a condenser, it is a simple heat exchanger. However, if you have a air conditioner, that second part is a condenser with a what you call circulation. Imagine by some error, if any of those things get out into the atmosphere, leakage and all that, and then it is sprayed by this. So, all this spray is real. So, it is not a, while it is not a directed jet of water, for various practical reasons you do not have an under chassis cover in the engine bay for any of the cars, except maybe very expensive cars. So, when you are going underwater or anything, any splash, puddle, everything, all of it gets sprayed into the engine bay. Engine bay is not very much protected, because I said it is not an easy way of protecting it. So, the second thing here is, one is about the temporary immersion water, continuous immersion in water, which is likely to happen for various things. So, I would like you to have a look at my watch. Good. If my operator can zoom, you have seen this, except for that weird color. This is actually a waterproof watch. One of the first thing is, there is a bezel here which tightened from top, and you see there is a protected for this what you call time setting knob. There is a small protection given, and you need to unscrew it, it pops out, only then it this thing the operation starts. After that I key it back and then I turn it over. I will see if I can show it to you here, but I suggest to go to the any catalog of any of the manufacturers, and then you will see here. You will see here, if I turn it, it pops out. Once it is in this condition, I can further pull it out and then adjust all the thing. When I want to put it back, I just tighten it. There is a gasket here which ensures that it sits perfectly. To fit this crown or front bezel, front glass, they have put a separate ring, and this is a standard thing. Everywhere you see, any of your watches have this back cover, and then this back cover has the other stampings and so on. So, very routine, what we use at home all the time. Why I am saying it, it comes under the IP 57 category. If it accidentally falls in water, nothing is likely to happen, and by mistake, if you walk in the rain, it will not stop working, it will continue to work. However, you can't use it for diving or staying underwater. So, divers' watches are different, though people like to show a fashion statement by wearing mariners' watches and aviators' watches and divers' watches. A diver's watch is specifically designed such that even if you were to throw it underwater and keep it there for quite some time, nothing will happen. It may run out of battery, that is a separate problem, it may stop working. When you should bring it out and clean it, probably it will start working. I think you know about that shipwreck movie, no? So, unless you shatter it, you can get that watch working. So, continuous immersion in water typically relates to underwater equipment. That is much stricter and higher. Imagine you have a underwater cable which runs all the way almost at the bottom of the ocean. We have repeaters once in a while. What is normally done is to employ, this thing is, if you do not need to touch it, just throw it on the seabed. If you need to do something, make an arrangement by which you can bring it out. There is an extra looped cables and all mentioned, you can take it out. Easiest thing what you can see is the immersed lighting which you find in swimming pools, ponds and lighted fountains. So, there it stays underwater. 2 or 3 things you will notice about it, saying it should not be costly. If it is a military equipment, there is no issue, they can do whatever you want, and I will show you another instance where how it is handled. It is a non-military, this thing, once in a while when the lamp burns out or anything, you should be able to take it out, repair it again, and when you attempt the repair, original condition for which it was designed, that if it is IP67, it should continue to be in IP67. So, related very much to this is the stuff about how does it stay underwater and how well do you say about the harmful effects shall not be possible when the enclosure is continuously immersed in water under conditions blah 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 and so on. So, we have here something which are 68, you have seen this, no, temporary, and this is where I was trying to elaborate in what I spoke to you a little while back. So, not easy, but it is done yet. Now, one of the things you see that there seems to be some correlation. If you see, diagonally moving down, at one type IP20 has nothing, and then if you come to here IP67, you have seen this 4x type of enclosure have this, and then we also have explosion proof, you have gas proof, which are special details. We come to actually an important not mentioned issue about long term. When we talk about long term, we talk about the material versus suitability for a period of immersion. At home you would have seen various things like your coffee kettle. Coffee kettle, the water has to boil, so it has to be just a little about the boiling point. So, at sea level, at least nominally it is 100 degrees centigrade, and the water continues to boil at 100, and then anything related to that, including the heater, the enclosure, the lid, everything is supposed to withstand that. And by mistake, if any water leaks into the equipment or the electronics, nothing should happen. So, I have 2 of these devices. Next, in the next lecture, I will try to show you the devices next tomorrow, which is from this thing. Now, if you go down here, obviously there is a NEMA rating associated with, you have seen this, material attack by acids, alkalis and solvents. Obviously, basic material is not affected that much by solvents, But then see about the various types of coatings which we put on top of it, and gaskets. Gaskets is serious business. The slightest problem, the first thing that is likely to give is effect with the gaskets. Some of you have had automobiles in the past will notice swelling of old natural rubber with petrol. So, wherever there used to be a petrol cap, it came with a, you have this petrol cap, underneath that you have a seal like thing which is actually punched from a rubber sheet. So, this rubber sheet, once you put it on the petrol cap and then you fix it, over time you will notice that two things happen. One of them is it turns hard, otherwise it swells. Swelling is it becomes a little bigger. So, you need to change it. Fortunately now we are in the what you call plastics age. So, you have some or the other polymer materials including silicone, including butyl rubber, nitrile butyl rubber, all these materials do not swell as much under standard conditions. So, while if it is a external thing like a petrol tank, you may lose a little bit of petrol as evaporation or anything. Imagine when you have to work with body worn things. This is a hearing aid, it is molded out of some special material, I do not know what material it is, and it has to follow strictly the contour of the ear canal, outer ear canal, it does not go to the inner ear canal, and then it has tremendous amount of electronics and things built into it. It costs money, of course, it costs $999 but it is good, and electronic and enclosure, body worn. I should not be allergic to it, neither it should get allergic to me. So, see here we coming back to here, we come to paint finishes and powders, how to deal with all these nuisances over a long time. So, we have here touch up spray can and all that is not any more relevant for this discussion. So, I will just close this here. There is a EN 50298 which also covers mechanical impacts of equipment. That is the reason we still have metal in place, and so is the reason we also have plastic also in place. Plastic meaning all the impact resistant things. Please have a look at this old thing what I wanted to show you. Remember this? LED home light, no issue with it at all, except that this is not made as an outdoor equipment. So, as such, indoor, even if accidentally something falls inside, it will not create much harm. Let us say you keep it for reading or you keep it as a night lamp, and I do not know, normal water or maybe fruit juice and anything falls, nothing will happen, and this seems to be reasonably protected. there is a lip here between these two. That lip ensures that nothing will go inside except for a small no, this is all, even the hook to be kept inside does not affect it seriously. However, what comes with it is the solar panel. This solar panel by definition has to withstand solar heat and then radiation, all possible radiation, wherever useful energy can be, what do you call, recovered. So, it has a glass in the front, not glass, actually it is a special filter, and then we have the silicon cells. And the normal condition, they have provided sufficient protection, so that if you are to keep it flat, even accidentally if it gets flooded with water, nothing will happen. It also comes with a small rubber case to make it next level of protection. The rubber case is a little like what you are likely to find on top of your mobile. I had removed this last time when I showed you, I had removed this case. Now you see that this right now is not flexible, but if you have to make something a little more flexible and something which grips hard, you can make it practically IP55 rating, and if it is next level we can even make it higher. So, if you see part of this equipment indoor has the normal, I will say IP say 43 or 42 or 44, no harm. Even if it were to accidentally fall into your bathtub, no problem. We suffer from power outages here, so you can even put it in your bathroom, no problem. So, in your toilet, so when power fails you can still use it. This can go on top of your house with the full protection, or in a wall with oriented towards the latitude of your place. So, in our case Bangalore is 13 degrees. So, if you orient it at 13 degrees and generally leave it, little enough of energy is there which will charge the battery. But however, you see it is a two-piece thing, and then while it was nice talking to you about how to make it weatherproof and all that, you see here we still end up with a funny grommet, probably the weakest point in the whole link, as if the grommet were not sufficient. Other end of it, we have the classical, I think it is a 2.5 mm or something socket. Best way of describing it is cheap. If you look at it, it will stop working. Good ones are made with proper molding here and proper materials. So, both conditions, even if you leave it outside or when you plug them inside, in the presence of moisture and water, they do not corrode. That is the reason why all our professional equipment, our XLR connectors and all are costly. Gold has two properties. One is purely decorative. When you buy a gold plated audio plug, I do not think it really makes a lot of difference, so it is more of decoration. Good part is the electrical conductivity is stable for a very, very long time. All you need to do is maybe wipe it and then put it back, it works without any problem. The same equipment, in this case now one child, one light, somebody one, this is, I mean it is not as fashionable as vitamin D or other vitamins. People are there trying to help. So, they give it to the children as an incentive, so that it has there is a little bit of novelty in it, and the other thing is people can carry it home. At the back you have a fully molded and embedded solar panel. It does not have the filter what I am talking to you about. Instead, this comes with an epoxy. This whole thing, can you see? I am showing the shining. It is embedded in a special epoxy, which of course compromises a little of the total light gathering capacity. Maybe the light gathering comes up by around 70%. Practically anything proof. So, child can take it, it may fall into a puddle, or at home it may get flooded, but you have an example of a beautiful equipment. And then even here there are 4 screws. Before fitting the screws, there is a standoff. There is another point which goes into that, which has got a taper. So, once you tighten it, no chance of any water going through any of these things, and intentionally they have avoided any levers, any threads, anything at all from this, such that it works. And this I will put it in the category of a genuine useful IP57 equipment, except that under the IK classification it will not pass this third digit, it may not pass. Understood, no? This hammer here is shown more as an allegorical representation, saying if you are to take a hammer and hit it, they have given a jolts. This hammer is not the what you call, oh, it is not a ball pin ball, it looks like a claw hammer, standard claw hammer. It does not look like this actually, because the test conditions are to specified. But then this whole picture, no, nice to see. Just have a look at it. I am sure you will appreciate. First, this thing, no protection at all from your hands, protected against solid objects. Second, about the water, up to 15 degrees from the vertical. You see here it straight it is, and here 60 degrees from the vertical. Okay. Limited ingress, protected against water sprayed from all directions, limited ingress, meaning it does not lead to a harmful condition. This third one is not immediately related to that, but it is specified occasionally. This is a standard hammer. Just for you have a look at that hammer. This starts with a what an average hammer, and somebody can hit between 2 jewels. After that it is getting into a bigger and bigger hammer. See, this is a standard 1.500 gram hammer, and it become a big hammer, 1.7 kg, it becoming 5 kg, and then the height with which it falls. So, like our helmet test, there is actually a standard hammer. It has a given mass, and there is a machine which uses this for testing. So, as you go down, we have all this beautiful way of checking the thing. So, this is typically an equipment manufacturer you have seen that there is a vertical plate, and this is the device which will go and impact against it. In contrast, we have the impacting hammer. So, actually it does not fall vertically. At the bottom you have seen the mechanism. This one is something which holds the hammer from falling. So, this is the release mechanism. This goes and hits the vertical plate, and then there are sensors which will ensure that the total energy that is transferred is fully controlled. So, a large number of these practices, and this is a test being conducted here. And you know what is being tested there? It's an LED panel. Does an LED panel need a impact test? Yes. If it is industrial and if it is commercial, and it's not like what you rig up in your lab, and it's not as easy as just providing a percarbonate sheet. It needs to be tested to ensure that so many amounts of joules of energy it takes and so on. So we have all this equipment which I'll try to cover in some other location. You have seen that the diameter is fixed, the amount of joules can be controlled by increasing the weight or mass of the hammer. So all the standard hammers with which you make sure that is from a 40 centimeter height, if a 5 kg hammer falls, it should withstand a very large number of hits. May not be at the same place, but it does. That is the reason why we have all these beautiful testing equipment, then we have all these testing situations. I think I will stop here because it is saturated. Two things. First thing is, you will probably anyway stop it, and people have verified that around 20 minutes is a normal attention span what you can learn something. Then after 20 minutes anyway, you are probably giving it a spot and then a pause and trying to make it back again. So how to make something a IP 55 or 65 enclosure is not that easy. I will repeat it again next time. It has been coming through the industry for a very long time. So that is how very safely you can take your mobile and drop it. No, my mobile I will not drop. Chances are nothing will happen. And you would have seen this about your remote control also. When the remote control falls, it is not as if the end of the world has come. Two things happen. First thing is the battery cover snaps, because that is not made so well. And then the cells spill out. Now you put this cells back and somehow put the battery cover, drop it again. Second time it does not snap in place. So depending on your profession, you can use a simple rubber band or you can use a metallic wire, and doctors use zinc oxide plaster to keep the battery case in place, battery cover in place. You drop it again, this time chances are the box splits, the outside case. Still, if you put it back and somehow snap it in place, it will continue to work. So very routine things like a cordless in our hand, electric toothbrushes, hair dryers, and remote controls are expected to take a drop test. Hard surface 1 meter, by its own weight it falls, and worst is probably in the corners. It should withstand. So thank you. I will continue next time with a few of the examples what I am talking about. I will see if I can bring a coffee filter, a water kettle, and then maybe a couple of hair dryers and TV remote and a cordless, and see whether I can do something. So thank you.